Talia.
No! I exclaimed, going back to remove the hollow blocks that separated Luciano and I. However, I halted my steps when I felt Lucille stirring in my arms. I looked back and forth from the wall to my daughter and realized why Luciano decided to do what he has done. It's for the two of us to survive. Even if that means he doesn't get to. So, with a heavy heart and tears streaming down my face, I squeezed through the narrow opening to finally escape from this place. The cold air hit me as soon as I escaped, yet I still feel like I can't breathe properly. I also feel like there isn't any strength left in my body, and there isn't anything I want to do other than go back to where Luciano is and stay with him until the end. But I have to think about our daughter and about how much life she still has to live. With that thought in mind, I ran away from the building, determined not to look back. My vision was occluded with tears, and due to that, I couldn't clearly see what was right in front of me. Before I even knew it, I bumped into someone. I froze as soon as I felt the towering figure right in front of me. Fuck. It feels like history is repeating itself, when I was caught 4 years ago, leading to Renee's death. Please. I muttered under my breath, hoping that the person in front of me is harmless. However, when I lifted my head, I felt the blood drain from my face as I was met face to face with Don Emiliano. Talia, he said, his voice still stern as ever. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came out. I was glad that I didn't run into a member of the Colombo clan, but at the same time, is running into Don Emiliano a better circumstance? Please, is all I could mutter. Where is my son? He asked. Don't kill him, please. I hysterically cried. He's just doing his best. I love him too much. He sighed and massaged the bridge of his nose. Calm down. I'm not here to do what you think I'm going to do. My mind is in shambles, and all I can think about is how Luciano has so many enemies trying to hinder his happiness. He's going to die. I stammered, my hands shaking in distress. Talia, someone said my name, and it wasn't Don Emiliano. I turned my head to the side and saw my father walking my way. My eyes widened in surprise as I looked into his eyes. Dad? What are you doing here? He slowly walked closer to me, observing Lucille in my arms. Is this my granddaughter? He asked. I nodded my head. That's her? Don Emiliano said, also walking closer to me. The two men peered at Lucille's face, so I quickly tightened my hold on her. Every little happening is agitating me to the core. She looks just like my son, Don Emiliano chuckled, causing me to become even more surprised. My dad nodded his head. I can't believe she got your family's genes. It would have been better if it were ours. Don Emiliano scoffed. You should be thankful that our granddaughter took over my family's features. Talia and Reese are the only good-looking offsprings you produced. I looked at them back and forth as they continued to bicker. I closed my eyes for a second and opened them again to confirm I wasn't daydreaming. What the fuck is happening? I asked, breaking their conversation. As much as I would love to hear all of this, I'm afraid we're running out of time. Another person interrupted our conversation. Reese? I asked. I'm here too, one more person popped up. Daisy, what are all of you doing here? She smiled and went over my way, wrapping her arms around my shoulder. We're here to save Luciano. But how? And why? I asked, turning to Don Emiliano. It's a long story, she said. We'll talk once everything is solved. Stay here, okay? She said, leading me over to a van of some sort. We'll handle this. I absent-mindedly nodded my head. At that point, more and more people entered the dungeon where Luciano was currently in. As much as I am grateful that he's finally going to be saved, I also can't deny that I'm so fucking confused. Mommy? Lucille said, snapping me out of my trance. My baby, I said, holding on to her cheeks. Where are we, Mommy? She asked, looking around the car. We're almost home. I smiled. Are you okay? Does anything hurt? No, Mommy. But I feel tired, she said, her eyes closing once more. She just slept, but I can understand why she's still so tired. I caressed her hair and led her to lay more comfortably on the back of the van. Sleep more, okay? Once we wake up, we'll be right back home. She sleepily nodded her head and closed her eyes once again. I took my jacket off and placed it on top of her body to bring her more warmth. When I was assured that she was asleep, I rolled down the window to see how the situation was going. There was a commotion of some sort in front of the building, but I wasn't sure what was happening. Several cars came to take away people that weren't a part of our clan, and I even saw Elliot Colombo being carried away by some of Luciano's men. I was itching to get out of the car. I glanced at the driver and saw that it was the person who drove me to Amari Coast. Mister, I said. He hummed and turned around. Can you look after my daughter for a while? I asked. He chuckled. You trust me now? I pursed my lips together. Not quite. But my father will chop your head once he finds out his granddaughter is placed in danger because of you. He smiled. Go ahead, ma'am. I'll take care of the little one right there. Thanks. I muttered under my breath before going out of the van. Everything was hectic the moment I came out. I wandered my eyes around for Luciano, but only saw familiar faces and not him. After much struggle, I was finally able to locate him at the back of the house. I thought he was all alone, but when I walked closer, he was actually with his father. I stopped in my tracks and went behind the wall, observing their conversation. Why did you do this? Luciano asked, his voice obviously tired. You're not even going to thank me for saving your life? Luciano massaged the bridge of his nose. This isn't the redemption that you're thinking of. We wouldn't have been in this situation if you supported us from the very beginning. Don Emiliano sighed. I was finally convinced to support you after Talia's father brought up my granddaughter. Took you long enough, Luciano said. The two of them were engulfed in silence, and I swear the tension could actually cut glass. Luciano cleared his throat, breaking the silence. You know that this doesn't mean that I forgive you, right? I figured, Don Emiliano said. I'm not asking for your forgiveness anymore. Then, why did you do all of this? He asked. Because you're my son, Don Emiliano smiled, a very rare occurrence. I think this is the very first time I've seen him smile like this. Cut it with that bullshit, Luciano sneered. You haven't been a father to me ever since you basically forced me to become the Don of the Cosa Nostra. Don Emiliano nodded his head in understanding. I know that you will never be able to forgive me, and I understand that. I also know that our relationship is far too torn to be fixed, so I'm doing this last resort to at least give you some peace of mind, not as the Don of the Cosa Nostra, but as my son. What are you planning to do? Luciano warily asked. I'm setting you free, he said. I felt my heart stop beating. What do you mean? Luciano asked. I'm giving you a choice. If you want to leave the Mafia, I'm going to let you go.
Luciano.
What? I snapped, not believing a word he said. My father sighed and raked his fingers through his hair. Count this as my final gift to you. I'm giving you a choice, the Mafia or your family? This is another one of your ultimatums, huh? I asked. It's the final one. He smiled bitterly. Why are you doing any of this? What made you change your mind? He sighed. Honestly, I never really wanted this life too. My eyebrows raised in inquiry. He never wanted this life? He's the very last person on earth I would imagine not enjoying the Mafia scene. It is what my father taught me, the Mafia always comes first. Everything else is only in second place. I instilled that quote in my mind, and even now, I still believe in that mindset. So, you want this life after all? I asked. I didn't want it at first, he said, but I've become used to it. There are a lot of things and people I've sacrificed because of that belief, and frankly, I'm way too deep into this life to be able to let it go. You, however, are just on the brink of falling right into this rabbit hole. So, I'm giving you a choice, he continued. A choice that my father failed to give me. And if I choose to leave, you're not going to bother us anymore? He nodded his head. I told you, it's my parting gift. I wouldn't bother you anymore. Not you. Not your family. I bit my lip as I thought of the choice I was about to make. Do I want to be with my family and live a peaceful life? 100%. But, at the same time, am I ready to give up the life that I had always known? When Irina's and Lucille's smiles flashed in my mind, I got my answer. There is no second guessing about what I want in my life. Then, I'm choosing to leave, I said. I heard a small gasp coming from behind the post, so I glanced and saw a small figure hiding from the two of us. I saw some strands of her hair and immediately recognized who it was. Talia, I said. The figure didn't move. I chuckled fondly and repeated her name. Talia, my Bambi. Come here. She slowly moved out from the post and revealed herself to the two of us. She walked towards my way and stood next to me. Have you been listening in since earlier? She shyly nodded her head. That's okay, I said. I'm glad you get to hear my decision. She looked into my eyes with worry, causing me to frown. Is there something wrong? I asked. She shook her head and held onto my cheeks. Are you okay? I smiled and leaned in on her touch. Of course I am. I'm better than ever. She glanced at my father for a second before turning her attention back to me. Are you sure about your decision? Are you really going to leave the Mafia? I unhesitatingly nodded my head. I am never more sure in my entire life. Yes, my love. But, you've been with the Mafia ever since you were young. Are you ready to let that all go? She asked. I am, I said with conviction. If I close my eyes and imagine myself 20 years from now, I don't want to be pointing guns at people, making negotiations, or being stuck in my office while my wife and child wait for my return. My future is only filled with you, I smiled. I could see tears brimming in her eyes, and I, too, felt a surge of emotions within my body. I don't care if I have to be a normal office worker or a truck driver. Heck, I could even become a farmer at Amari Coast so that I could bring you home fresh fruits and vegetables every day. If all of those means we get to live a peaceful life together, then I'm down for it. Are you willing to spend that kind of life with me? I asked. She nodded her head. You can be anything you want, and I'll still be by your side. My smile widened even more as I wrapped her around in my arms. The two of us hugged for a while, basking in each other's warmth. However, when my dad cleared his throat, Talia gently pushed me away. I pursed my lips together and faced him once more. I had honestly forgotten that he was even right here. Are you sure about this? My dad asked once again. I nodded my head. Do you promise us peace? He sighed before nodding his head. I see that what you have is genuine, and I won't go between the two of you anymore. I wish you wouldn't shut me out from my granddaughter's life completely. Talia and I looked at each other. She smiled softly and nodded her head. Even now, it shows just how kind her heart is. I have something I want in return for that, though, I said. He frowned. What else could you want? It's just a small favor, something in exchange for wanting to get to know Lucille, I said. I get to pick who becomes the new Don of the Cosa Nostra. My dad scoffed. That's too much. I'll be taking over, he said. You could, I said. But you're already too old to take the position. Who I'm going to recommend is going to do a much better job at this, even more than me. If I happen to make your recommendation into reality, will you really let me in Lucille's life? I nodded my head. I will. I promise. He sighed and massaged the bridge of his nose. Who is it, then? I said his name with a proud smile on my face. I'll think about it, he said. I nodded my head. I hope you make the right choice. We stood in silence for a while, and although I knew this was probably one of the last times where we were going to have a conversation like this, I wasn't distressed at all. In fact, I was happy and excited about what was about to come, my new life. Then I shall leave the both of you, my dad said. I hope you two live a peaceful and happy life. I merely nodded my head while Talia bowed hers. Best wishes to you, too, Don Emiliano. My father attempted to smile, but it turned out to be a grimace. I just let it slide since I knew he was trying his best. He walked away from us, leaving the two of us alone. Bambi, I called her lovingly when my father was gone. We're free now, Bambi. She nodded her head, her eyes glassy with tears. We'll be okay from now on, she said. I smiled and leaned closer to her face, placing my hands on her waist. She tilted her head up to give me more access to her lips. I love you, I whispered, my lips inching closer to hers. I love you, she said, sealing the night with a warm kiss.
She slapped my shoulder and gently pushed me away, causing our lips to separate from each other. I leaned in to kiss her once again, but she placed her hand on my chest and halted my movement. She gave me a nonchalant look before placing a quick kiss on my lips. There, she said. That's the last one. Now, we have to go back to work. I raked my hands through my hair and let out a deep sigh. I don't know what to do anymore, Daisy, I said. We don't even have a clue of where Talia is. She held onto my shoulders. And that's why we shouldn't lose hope. I don't want to lose another important person in my life. We have to find Talia and Lucille at all costs. I nodded my head. We should. I just don't know where we're going to start. Suddenly, Daisy's preppy ringtone sounded in the room, causing the two of us to look at her phone. She was the first one to look at the text message, and her face quickly morphed into a smile when she saw its contents. I think I just found our lead. I frowned in confusion. What do you mean? She flipped her phone over to show it to me. I squinted my eyes to look at the tiny text. What is this? I asked when I saw what looked like an address on the screen. She clicked her tongue and brought it closer to my face. Don't you recognize this address? Dream? I muttered under my breath. Isn't this the Colombo clan's territory? She nodded her head. Why are you showing me this? She slapped her forehead and placed her phone inside her pocket. You're so slow for someone so smart. This is where Luciano is currently in, you dummy. I hacked into his phone so that his texts would also be sent to me. What? I asked, surprised. When did you even have the time to do that? It was simple, she boasted. I knew that he was going to do something stupid again, so I took this measure to avoid further complications. I nodded my head. This is perfect. You're perfect. I smiled, walking over to her and giving her a warm hug. I know! She giggled. I definitely deserve a reward after all of this is over. I smirked. A reward, you say? I trailed my eyes from her pretty features down to her sexy body. I still remember the very first time we met. I thought she was very attractive at first sight, but I wasn't really interested in dating the members of the training system back then. We also had a lot of quarrels when she first started working with me, but I came to love those quarrels the more time I spent with her. And even after asking her to be my girlfriend, I still see myself falling deeper in love with her every day. I can give it to you right now, I said, gripping her waist and bringing her closer to my body. She chuckled and shook her head. We don't have any more time for that. We have to infiltrate the Colombo clan's territory and rescue the three of them now. We don't want to waste any more time. I nodded my head and took a step back. For sure. I'll give you your reward once we go home. She nodded her head. But, I added, we have to make sure that Don Emiliano does not know any of this. It's going to be difficult, but it's the best choice we have. You're right, she said. First, let's go to this location, then have our trusted men follow after us. Let's go! I said, taking my phone and keys with me. As soon as I opened the door, however, Don Emiliano greeted us with a cold smile on his face. The two of us froze in our spots as we were met face to face with the man we wanted to avoid at all costs. Where are the two of you going? Daisy and I looked at each other, not finding the right words to say. We're not going anywhere, Daisy tried to lie, but it was quite obvious that she wasn't telling the truth. "You're going to Luciano," he said, stating the obvious. Thinking about the people we would lose if we didn't step up right now, I decided to take the courage to defy Don Emiliano right at this moment. "You're right," I said, squaring my shoulders in confidence. "We are going to him, and we're not letting you stop us anymore. I've already failed to be a good brother to my sister plenty of times, and I don't want to stand by and just watch her get hurt anymore. I also don't want the first time that I'll be seeing my niece in person is to be through a coffin. I'm not letting you ruin that for me." "You've got courage, son," a voice suddenly interrupted. "It's no wonder you became Luciano's right-hand man." My eyes widened in surprise when I saw my dad walking my way. "Dad? What are you doing here?" He smiled. "Don't worry, son. Don Emiliano is now by our side." "What?" Daisy asked, appearing to be in awe like I was. How? Don Emiliano sighed. "I really don't want to let my guard down in front of these young people, but let's just say I have the same thought as you now. It may not have been obvious, but I was devastated when we lost Renee. I drowned myself in work to forget about her every single day, but it still lingered in my mind no matter what I did. I don't want the same thing to happen to Luciano." "Took you long enough," Daisy muttered under her breath. I nudged her shoulder and fought the smile that threatened to appear on my lips. It was a good thing that Don Emiliano and my dad weren't able to hear it. "Now," Don Emiliano said, his voice turning serious. "Where is my son?"
Sometime later.
"We did it, babe!"
Daisy exclaimed, running into my arms. I opened my arms and warmly welcomed her in them. I lifted one of my hands to caress her hair, then placed a kiss on her forehead. "We couldn't have done it without you," I said. She giggled and rested her chin on my chest, looking up at me with sparkling eyes. "I'm so happy for the two of them," she said. "I have a hunch that everything's going to be okay from now on." I nodded my head. Me too, I muttered softly. My little sister is finally going to get the happy ending that she deserves. While the two of us were hugging, I saw Don Emiliano coming from the back of the house, so I gently separated Daisy's and I's bodies from each other. The both of us bowed our heads as he walked past us. However, I noticed that he stopped right in front of us, so I lifted my head. Daisy, too, looked at him with inquiring eyes. "Don, do you need anything else?" I asked. "Reese," he said my name. "Yes, sir?" His next question is something I would never have imagined to come out of his life ever. "Not bad," he muttered under his breath. "How would you like to be the new Don of the Cosa Nostra?"